welcome to the crypto jungle. My name is Blue the Bear, and here on the channel I try to keep crypto simple. We look at the chart in the context of volume using the Wyckoff method. If that is something that interests you, then why don't you hit the subscribe button. I stream every Monday and Friday and post new videos on Wednesday. So little bit of a FUD going on in the markets. We're seeing a little bit of a downside move that was a lot more violent a few hours ago. But we are recovering. It's choppy out there. It's choppy out there. So we do need to proceed with caution. Bitcoin's at a decision point. We are at a macro inflection. Are we bullish? Are we bearish? Are we going to continue a bull market, as a lot of the fundamentals and on-chain analysis would allude to? Or does all of that not matter and we are just getting ready for the bear market? So without any further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at king of all crypto, and that is Bitcoin. So we had a little bit of a shakeout, scared a lot of people all over, crypto Twitter, YouTube, my group as well. So, we're in a backup phase. We're testing this top of the range of the of this Wyckoff accumulation, if it is indeed an accumulation. So looks like we're about to close above the level of the automatic rally. Let's mark down the automatic rally lines so that you have a little bit better context. Automatic rally line is right here. It's it is the line that is established right after the initial shakeout, the initial seller's climax. We can actually make note of that as well. Should just keep my labels on here. If you're new to the Wyckoff method, I have a ton of free material on the free side of the Discord. I do have a free side just mainly for the purposes of offering information to people. So, instead of having to scour the internet for, the best place to learn Wyckoff, I can just share the material that I use to learn. But as far as like a community, the community is on the paid side, so don't have expectations of a lot of activity in there. It's more of a resource, but feel free to join the free side and get some of that material. So line of the automatic rally, we're sitting on top of it. We got a nice little bit of demand here, but I'm not 100% convinced on this overall structure. I don't like what's going on in the RSI. As you can see here, we have a little bit of a divergence. There are higher highs matched with higher lows. Let me actually give myself a little bit more room here on the RSI with lower lows. We need to break above this line for that to become invalidated. I do like the amount of demand that came in on that daily candle close. The bulls really showed up to kind of at least defend that level. Is it going to be enough to, get a trend reversal? That's yet to be seen. We do need to start breaking out of some of these localized highs. It's very important for us to take out some of these highs, because right now we're not taking out any of them. So, first first move on the agenda is getting that 45 level broken. Then after that, we need to break above the 48. And then we'll be looking pretty darn healthy if we can get back above 52. But it's essential that we break out some of those highs. Effectively, we're in a localized downtrend. So whenever you've identified a trend, the trend is your friend until it ends. We can only assume for further downside. This is making it very difficult to be an altcoin trader because the alts are lagging Bitcoin right now. Anytime Bitcoin makes a positive move, the altcoins stall and then they start to make their positive move. And then when Bitcoin sneezes, it all falls apart. So if you're purely exposed to altcoins, please be careful and know that your downside risk is extreme. So portfolio management, portfolio management, portfolio management. You don't need to be all in on everything. If your whole portfolio is constructed of altcoins, you are at risk at taking a beating. So understand that a healthy portfolio or a healthy trading strategy is where you look at your portfolio as a whole. You have a certain amount of cash, you have a certain amount of Bitcoin, and you have a certain amount of altcoins. So, trade safe, it's a jungle. We can take a look at some of these other coins here. Slam Free Poetry, you asked me a question in the comment section, and I'm drawing a blank as to what that is. I just remembered that you asked me a question. So if you want to go ahead and ask me again, that's fine. Let's take a look at Ethereum. Similar structure, alts are high risk. This is actually less healthy as we are below, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. Altcoins are lagging Bitcoin. They are struggling to make their highs, and it's way easier for them to confirm their lows. It's not altcoin season. It's not altcoin season, okay? Even though you're seeing these random altcoins do these impressive moves, don't be lured into thinking that this is altcoin season. This is not altcoin season. We may even be in a bear market. You have to consider that possibility and weigh it with the probabilities. So we're kind of, trapped between a rock and a hard place at this point. And what I mean by that, just taking a look at Bitcoin again, is this structure right here. We have our high, and we have our low, and we have our lower high. This really needs to, price really needs to break out this high to prove that we have a chance that this does not confirm as a lower high. Because if it does, I hate to say it, I hate to be the bearer of bear news, but it's a bear market. So that can go on for a long time, and altcoin exposure is going to be one of the worst ideas that you could have inside of your portfolio, which nobody really wants, including myself. This cycle thus far has not provided the gains that a lot of investors were expecting. My portfolio overall is basically at a 4 or 5x, 4.5x. So for a cycle move, that's not magnificent or anything. So we gotta proceed with caution. Do you still trade in the multi-year bear market? No, I do not. In the sense, well, okay, so when you're in an accumulation, the trade changes, the style changes, everything changes. When you're in an accumulation, you accumulate. So basically what you do when you start establishing that we're trading sideways, I always do the longer swings. I always take longer swings. Once you've established sideways, all you're doing is you're picking assets that you like, and you're placing bids at the lower end of the range, and you're waiting for them to hit. It goes on for years. So there's really not a lot of action up or down when we're in this type of environment. So there are trades that occur, but it's not the bulk of your portfolio, and there's a lot more spot buying, and there's a lot more portfolio building, and there's a lot more thought going into, I say often, don't have more than like 5 coins. When you're in the bear market, that strategy can change, and you can have 30 or 40 or even 50 coins if it's part of a strategy. What you're doing is you're planting the seeds for the next cycle. And then when the cycle comes, you start to harvest some of those profits. So it's a very different strategy. You can do a trade here and there, but honestly, I usually leave it with Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the market leader. So trying to determine the move of an altcoin in the context of a bear market with Bitcoin is very difficult to do. So yes, the gains are less because we're dealing with Bitcoin, but it is just, it is what it is. So that's the strategy there. But I'm not done saying we're in a bull market just yet. I've got a little bit of wiggle room where I can, hold on and wait. I do like the daily close that we just got, but this local downtrend, it's ugly. We do have this kind of fractal pattern playing out. The invalidation point, of course, is going to be below this level. I'm going to be very concerned if we start breaking down below 37. If we start breaking down below 37, I think it's hard to ignore that there's the possibility for a much longer accumulation, aka bear market. Oh yes, the China FUD. So as the clickbait title got you in here for, the FUD with China, first of all, that announcement was made on September 3rd. And what is it today? It's September 25th. And this just reaffirms the notion that news does not push price. Price pushes news. I don't listen to news. I actually really hate the news. I think that mainstream media is a tool that is used to manipulate. It is a tool of fear. It is a tool to sell products. And I limit my exposure a lot to any source of news, because at the end of the day, I can look at a chart and I can identify structural changes that can tell me, hey, are we in a multi-year bear market? The market participants move the chart. So whatever the market participants are thinking is translated into candlesticks. So if you just focus on learning the candlesticks and identifying the trend and remaining, unbiased, you don't need the news. Anytime there's a dip, what does everybody in the market do? Everybody in the market goes out and they find the reason why. And it's ridiculous, in my opinion, because there's always bullish news and there's always bearish news at all points in the market, period, end of story. But when you have a down move, what ends up happening is somebody finds a bearish story and they're like, hey, look here, this is why. This is why we're bearish. Look, I found it. I found the reason why. And it's human nature to want to know why. It's human nature to try and find these reasons. And to me, it's nonsense, and it just wastes space in your brain. Focus on just being unbiased with candlesticks, and you don't need the news, because the effects of the news, like I said, will translate to candlesticks. The reasons are irrelevant, in my opinion. And no, I don't treat the fundamental mainstream news any differently. The Evergrande chart has been going down for 4 years. So if that's a fundamental reason as to why everybody should panic, we should have been panicking 4 years ago. You'll notice what occurs in the markets. The S&P 500 will tell you that traditional finance is not doing well. Let's actually take a look at the S&P right now. Yeah, we have a rebound, basically. Had a little bit of a shakeout because of the FUD, and we're rebounding. Now, this rebound won't continue full bull until we break past the all-time high in the S&P. So there's two things that we're at: a pivot point or an inflection point. It's an area where you need to pay attention, because basically, if we start to break below our low that we just put in, it's not looking good. And then you need to entertain the idea that there is economic struggle and there is problems that are occurring globally. And then if we break past the all-time high, it's all a bunch of bullshit and you shouldn't have listened to it in the first place. So, we're in the middle. We're in the middle right now. When you're in the middle, there's nothing you can do. Yes, it's a ridiculous chart. Just look at it. It's very helped. It's a very helped chart. You can see that there's a lot of funny money helping to prop it up and carry it along the way. We've broken structure, don't get me wrong. We've broken structure on the S&P, but it's just the first step. When you're doing trend analysis, here we have a low, we have a high, we have a lower low, we need to confirm a lower high, and if we break below this low, then we have a downtrend and things heat up and we start to see a meltdown in the markets. This is indicative of any chart right before there's like a big move. So no reason to worry right now. It's all just kind of wait and see time for me. Bull market through Christmas, Santa rally. Yeah, I mean, that's coming from a place of emotion, and I would be lying if I didn't align with that emotional desire. Because to me, I feel as though I didn't squeeze what I wanted out of this price cycle. So there's a very big emotional desire for me to want a continuation of this bull market. And I need to quell that. I need to understand and recognize that there are emotions attached to that desire, So I end up searching. I look at the on-chain metrics. I look at the global adoption of cryptocurrency. I look at all of these things that help convince me, No, of course, we're going to continue bullish. But the fact remains the same that in a bull market, you need buyers. And if nobody's buying, there's no way to fill the order book, to create a lopsided order book where the bids outweigh the asks. So in that regard, we need to remain level-headed. But yeah, in regards to the China FUD, I want to talk a little bit about, China banning cryptocurrency. The timing, it happened at the beginning of the month and the FUD showed up at the end of the month. But I do want to speak to those who may be new to crypto and may not understand, or just may not share the same foresight as to what I see coming down the pipe. I want to preface this conversation by saying that I think that there's going to be opportunity ahead to make money. And I think that there's going to be opportunity to get really excited about blockchain innovation. And that there's going to be a lot of positive things that come to us in the short term. But the game theory of Bitcoin is to take over as a global currency. That is going to be met with so much resistance, and powerful resistance from regulators, from billionaires, from people in power, from the large banks, from the institutions that hold you down. If you think Bitcoin is going to adopt as a global reserve currency without friction, you are not fucking prepared. You are not ready for what is to come. Again, I'm very bullish on blockchain tech. I'm very bullish for what this consensus system of decentralization does to the world for specific applications. But in regards to the application of money, buckle up, because China's banning it. They're the first to the table to ban it. What is going to happen to the price when the US bans it? What is going to happen to the price when Canada bans it? What is going to happen to the price when the European Union bans it? Not saying that all of that has to happen, but I do think quite strongly that there is a big risk that the US bans Bitcoin, because the US holds all of the power in terms of the US dollar, and the geopolitical power is pegged to the dollar. So, with that in mind, are you prepared? Are you prepared for the exchange to liquidate your funds? Are you prepared to have this taken away from you? Are you prepared to potentially move to another country where your rights to use this product is going to be respected? Are you mentally prepared? Are you physically prepared? Are you emotionally prepared for this kind of thing to occur? Because it's a very real threat. We have technology here that is replacing the money system. And there's a lot of very powerful people that are attached to the current system. So please, if you think China FUD's bad, wait for the America FUD. Yeah, once a month ban crypto. China is a joke, really. And yeah, the point I'm trying to make is it's coming from it's going to come from other countries as well. But there's a silver lining to all of that. There's a silver lining to that theory, and that's where Bitcoin is a global currency, right? It has no borders, it has no law, it has no control. Where one country restricts, another country has an opportunity. So what will likely happen on this, game theory of Bitcoin is the effects of restriction are going to be seen. You're going to see economic slowdown, you're going to see lack of innovation, you're going to see an exodus of talent from the countries that ban it. And then conversely, you're going to see opportunity, you're going to see prosperity, and you're going to see a lot of innovation come from the countries that embrace it. And then eventually, the people that banned it are going to be just screwed, and they gotta, adopt it. That's my theory anyways, and I think it's I think it's a common theory amongst a lot of, Bitcoiners out there. But just, if it's the first time you're hearing about it, be aware that there's some sketchy stuff coming down the way. buy the dip and give them the finger. Could the previous dip in the S&P just repeat? Yes, absolutely. So you could get a double bottom on the S&P. Do you think the Bitcoin futures market is manipulating price similar to gold and silver? So I don't think that the futures market is manipulating the price. I think that the future market participants are fucking the price. I think that the futures market participants, because of the fact that people use too much leverage, there's too much leverage available in cryptocurrency. You can use 25x leverage. Like, that gives you a 4% move. Bitcoin moves 4% and it's a non-event. So the futures markets kind of slow down the they kind of screw over the market in a sense that, you know, these big moves to the downside, this is liquidations, this is stop loss triggers, it's all of that, and the stop losses are really, really tight because of the futures market, because of the tolerance for these liquidations, because of the tolerance needed to hold these over leveraged positions. You get these cascading downward effects. It's very typical of Bitcoin. You know, it slowly climbs its way up, and then traders get liquidated and it just slams right down. So it's very typical, but the market always resumes and carries us forwards in the appropriate direction over time. But yeah, it's the participants in the futures markets that have more of a hand to play than necessarily the exchanges themselves, in my opinion. Slam free poetry. How can I get off Binance? Are you stuck on Binance? Did they shut you down? Explain. Yeah, US is pushing for more regulation. The regulation currently coming out of the US is kind of respecting Bitcoin, so that's not terrible. They're kind of going after DeFi and stablecoins, which is a higher priority target for them right now, which makes sense because I don't know if you guys have heard, but we're printing our own money. That's the job of the Federal Reserve, so that's got to stop. They got to jump in on that one. It's more of a priority for them. But you know what? Let's just let Bitcoin adopt and distract them with us printing stable coins. Go over here, regulate this while this adopts. Historically, altcoins crash hard in a bear market. I have been told that that quant will keep rising due to bank using their tech. What do you think? I think that's hopium, and I think no, absolutely not. I would highly recommend that you do not count on that as an outcome. USA is not a friendly place for freedom. As long as you play in the rules, you can be as free as you want. Buy the dip, give them the finger, yeah. What about the IMF making cryptos that peg the EO in US dollars? Okay, drawing a blank on the IMF right now. IMF. Yeah, give me the acronym because I'm drawing a blank. When I'm live, it's hard for me to think on the spot. Can I just transfer my Binance crypto to a hard wallet to protect it from being confiscated? I'm a noob. Yes. Yes. So the only real place that you can protect your crypto from being confiscated is on a wallet, period. You know, and not an exchange wallet, a wallet that you have the keys to, the private keys, the seed phrase. It doesn't have to be a hardware wallet, although hardware wallets are best because they're the most secure. If you don't have a ledger, I think it's a good investment to have a ledger. I have a ledger sitting in storage in another country. I can send funds to it and I have no access to it. It's kind of a black hole net worth money pit that, you know, when I have some expendable income that I plan on using in the very far distant future, I can send funds to it and it's like it just disappears. So having those types of things set up are really important. But at the end of the day, nobody can take your crypto as long as you are in control of the private key, you are in control of the seed phrase, you are in control of that wallet. Exchanges can liquidate positions, put you into USD, send you a tax bill, and say, sorry, we can't custody any funds anymore. So at the same time, I do recommend that you still use exchanges in the mid to medium term because, you know, it's it's important to have a stop loss in these specific types of situations. If you're new, you need to protect your capital. Protection of capital is really, really important. You can really whittle down an account and you can lose a lot of your net worth if you're just holding spot crypto and you're not really prepared, especially if you're buying in the middle of a market cycle. Like we could be here, we could be at the top, or we could be in the middle of a market cycle. So it's pretty dangerous to just hold spot on a ledger, unless you're thinking 10 years down the road and you know you're going to be buying in the bear market. You know you're going to be buying in the bear market, then it doesn't really matter because you can drag your entry price down. But yeah. International Monetary Fund, that's it. Okay, thank you. Are you looking into a new crypto games? Currently, so I'm going to address that in a second. Let's talk about the International Monetary Fund, aka the people that own the dollar in the EU and the euro. I think it's the only currency that does not play with the IMF is Iran. Interesting. Is Mycelium safe? Ledger sounds great. I'm not familiar with Mycelium wallet. Ledger is something that I know, is something that I'm hands-on with, and it's something that I would put under the category of a trusted product. I think the euro and the US dollar is already to a certain degree pegged against each other. Okay, yeah. I'm not much of a Forex trader, so I can't really speak to that. Where Chinese could, for instance, also sell the US dollar and manipulate the US dollar as they have huge reserves of US dollars. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not probably abreast of international holdings as I should be. I also know that Chinese holds a lot of US debt. So, every country's bankrupt if you think about it. So, it's just how bankrupt is this one over another one. But yeah, I know that we got countries building up their treasury in Bitcoin, and I think that sounds great. The president of El Salvador tweeted, "Thank you, IMF, for the dip." Nice. We now have 750 BTC in our treasury. El Salvador. You want to talk, if we're talking about the game theory of Bitcoin, if Bitcoin's adopted, El Salvador, in theory, will be the richest country in the world because they're going to be the first country to adopt it as legal tender. Mind you, the US can switch. They can say, okay, we got to buy some of this stuff, and they can probably buy more than El Salvador can with a snap of the finger. So I guess in that regard, no, they won't be the richest. But, I do think that they're making a good choice, even though their citizens are really, really angry right now, and they hate Bitcoin. But, change is hard. Especially when you're forced to do something that you don't want to do. So I understand. Okay, great evening. I'm doing a yield farm with Uniswap. I don't trust trading, just do farm Uniswap for fat gains. Do you think I should only do Cardano now yet? You're staking Cardano on Uniswap? That's kind of a red flag for me. Hello, Blue. Are you enraged with China also? I break everything in my house today because my mother threw a rock at me. Crazy times. I have no worries with China whatsoever. Any country that doesn't adopt is just going to be left behind. That news, by the way, was announced on the 3rd of September. And I guess you missed the beginning of the show where I talk about price moves news. News does not move price. So it's just, if you're new to crypto, just ignore the news. Zoom out. When in doubt, zoom out. Iran not playing with the IMF is screwing the Iranian people. Yeah, Iran has a lot of problems with monetary access. I have a few people in the group who their only option, and I wish I had better services in my group to onboard people using crypto, but there's nothing automated yet. The space is so new, it's really, it's hard to accept cryptocurrency payments that are automated. But yeah, they have no option. They can't get gift cards without paying a premium. They have no access to Visa. They don't have the appropriate debit cards. They literally can't pay for all of these things in the world because they're being financially cut off. And that's just, first of all, it's a bull case for crypto, because as more of the infrastructure is built, you have a country that's just ready to adopt, because they can't use Amazon right now. They can't do this, they can't do that, because they can't pay for anything. But if you integrate these platforms with crypto, well, now they can pay for stuff. So very interesting, very interesting. Fiat debt system. I think the US is already in possession of BTC from Silk Road dismantling. Fair enough. I suspect the Federal Reserve has been stacking and buying BTC dips. It's a fair speculation, bit of a hedge against themselves. Bought $1,000 of sushi after I saw your video. Okay, well, let's hope that works out. Nothing here is financial advice. I am bullish on sushi, but hey, I've been wrong before. I can be wrong again. Chart is in a downtrend, like everything else. We're struggling to find support. We just broke down below that last support, failed to get above it, now below it again. We really do need to hold this level here at just under $9. Fundamentals do not always line up with technicals. So, you and I are in the same trade. I hope that it works out for us, but like anything in trading, your success rate is pretty low when you're making these picks. It's more about protection of the position, protection of the capital, and I do that in this case, in the form of averaging down, and now I have a stop loss. So this could end up being a pretty bad trade for me, even though the fundamentals are so strong. But, it is what it is sometimes. The market doesn't always behave, and the market doesn't always do what you want it to do. I don't know that Cardano 420 is trolling me. Or 2069. If he is, then he's pretty subtle. I would be concerned if you're farming Cardano. If you're in a staking pool of Cardano on Uniswap, I would be highly, highly concerned, by the way. Wish the US would force Bitcoin adoption. That would be nuts. They would never do it. I don't think they have the ability to do it. But yeah. Seeing anything new on Bitcoin since the daily candle closes? Nothing substantial. We just closed. We just closed, and it's still on top of support. Nothing's changed. We have to break up the highs, right? So until we can break past 45, that's our first target. Once we break past 45, we need to break past 48. Now we're getting really confident. Once we break past 52, I think that'll be a very good scenario where we could have talk about breaking past some of these more significant resistance lines at the previous shoulder, and then the all-time high break as well. So those are the levels to look out for. But right now, we're in a downtrend, so we need to break the downtrend. The only way we break the downtrend is by getting above some of these localized highs that we have established. So right now, we haven't done that. So the assumption is lower levels. And that's, we just carry on in that direction, which is downwards trajectory. Do you look at the Gaussian channel? We are currently on it on the daily, bounced off the bottom, but also got rejected by the middle. I try to limit the amount of indicators that I use. Gaussian channel, I believe that's popularized by Crypto University is using the Gaussian channel. And I don't really, he makes some strong comparisons. One indicator that I do like from Crypto University is actually his his metric with the NVT versus the historical volatility, that's a pretty good signal. The Gaussian channel, I'm not, it's another moving average type indicator. Moving average indicators are really helpful, but they can be invalidated all the time. And they're very hard to compare to previous cycles because the cycles change every time. You know, the trajectory of the upside moves, the trajectory of the downside moves becomes smoother over time and less volatile over time. And that's going to change the trajectory of these moving averages and these channels. So I give the kind of moving channels, the moving averages thing, those types of things a little less weight. But the on-chain stuff I like. So, you know, the NVT. NVT I like. And he also uses historical volatility with the, somewhere down here where we get bounces. The 40, I think. So he uses the 40 line. And basically, you wait for the volatility to condense. You wait for there to be very, very low volatility, which is before a move. It means that we've reached an equilibrium and the order book needs to decide which direction we're going. So when you get below 40, it means we're like as flat as you can get. There's a move coming, a big move when you're really, really flat. And then the color change of the NVT as you exit the historical volatility level 40 will determine the direction of the move. So I think if you are red, it's a bullish move. If you're white, it's a bearish move. I like that. I think that works really well. It's a good little tool that he does. But the Gaussian channel, I don't know. Let's pull it up and see, because let's see what we're looking at here. Gaussian channel. Is it on the daily? More indicators? No. Maybe one day I'll upgrade more. Let's just get rid of the historical volatility. You get enough of my money, TradingView. So the Gaussian channel. We went to the bottom of the channel, got rejected by the middle of the channel. So yeah, you know, it's showing us that we're in it to win it on the daily here. Currently in it on the daily and bounced off the bottom, but also rejected by the middle. Yeah. So this is just further cementing what it is that I'm looking for. We need to get out of these levels. So, you know, if we get out of the channel, that's going to correlate with my target of 48,000. If we can get above 48,000, we'll also be out of the channel. And if we can rally past 52, we'd be rallying off of the channel. And then we have a really good bull case to get us a continuation. Gaussian channel's green, which is aligned with our alpha numerics indicator, which is also green, damn near in the same place. Looks like alpha numerics flashed red earlier than the Gaussian channel. So we got a bearish move sooner. But yeah, you know, it's another area of resistance that is confluent with the targets that I have. So confluence is good. Anytime you can find confluence with multiple indicators, it's good. But I do like to keep my charts simple. Less is more, in my opinion. You know, you can always find a reason to buy and you can always find a reason to sell. Always. The name of the game is understanding that every entry you make comes with risk and you need to protect your entry, and you're going to be wrong more than you're going to be right. But when you're wrong, you don't lose a lot of money, and when you're right, you ride your winners hard. That's how this works. That's how you can be wrong so much and still make money. You know, the best investors in the world are right 30% of the time. But that 30% of the time that they're right is where they make their entire fortune. You know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can be wrong all the time. It's about protecting capital, staying in the game, making educated entries, educated bets on what you think will happen. And when you're right, lean into it. Lean into you being right. Lean into your correct analysis and ride it for as long as it'll go. And that will cover all of the other 70% of the time that you're wrong by a long shot. That's how it works. That's how this stuff works. Do I use long/short ratios? No, not necessarily. What is your strategy for re-entry after a stop limit closes in case of a quick bounce? What is your strategy for re-entry after a stop limit closes in case of a quick bounce? There is no strategy. Your original trading idea didn't work, and so as a result, you're watching it bounce away and you're trying to jump back in. That's not a strategy. That's an emotional move where you're like, shit. The best thing to do is just take a minute, look at the chart, and look at what would be an area that would show that we have a bullish continuation. So right now, if you got stopped out, there's really nothing to rush back into. You need to break past some of these highs. And yes, that means you're buying back in at a higher price. I understand that. And I know that can be hard for people to accept because they're like, well, damn, I got a good entry down at this price and now it's gone because it hit my stop loss and I want to get back in. But the thing is, your original plan failed. Accept that your original plan failed and create a new plan as though you were coming to this chart brand new and fresh. What would you be looking for? What would the chart need to do for you to be like, okay, it looks like we're changing trend. It looks like we're preparing to go to the upside, because all you're doing is jumping back into a trade that has a higher probability of going down than up, just because it went up away from your stop loss. So you're emotionally triggered by that. Don't fall into that trap. Reassess. Brand new. Even delete all your drawings and just come at it fresh and be like, okay, what is what it is? I'd like to know your opinion on tax gold. So it's pegged to gold. So I would rather, like, if I'm going to buy something that's going to move with gold, buy gold. You don't need to add another layer of risk to something like that, because cryptocurrency is experimental technology that has the ability to be hacked. It has the ability to be exploited. So, I don't know how secure Pax Gold is, but if I'm trying to buy something that's correlated to gold, I'll just buy gold. Phantom. FTM has mooned, so likely it needs a cool off period. FTM USD. Yeah, so we had a pretty large extension here. The accumulation was down here. Basically, what I'm trying to say is you missed it. You missed the meat of the move. The Wyckoff method. If you were watching Phantom, you would have bought the breakout here, got the retest here, and started harvesting out here. We've had a huge markup, right? Everybody's harvesting profits. So when they're harvesting profits, A, you have to have a little bit of a downside move, but B, you also have to go through a reaccumulation. So we're months away before this starts going again. Unless we get into a really heavily heated, exuberant bull rally, the natural progression of this chart is going to be that it needs to accumulate for a while. Again, if Bitcoin breaks past the all-time high, that accumulation will stop and retail will just FOMO in because the price is going up. But as far as the natural progression of Phantom, it's going to need to go into a reaccumulation. Sir Baloo, is it good to invest in Bitcoin? I think so, yes. And if you're going to invest long term. Bitcoin's very volatile and it can be very emotional, and it can also lead you down a path of falling into traps, especially with other cryptocurrencies. Most of these cryptos are useless. and they're shitty and they're not going to be adopted. You can make arguments with me on Bitcoin, and both of us are wrong until one of us is right, but I think that Bitcoin has the network effect behind it, and I think that Bitcoin will have a very strong place in the world. Stayed up all night and made 5 to 8%. Was it worth it? So if your plan is to hold your Bitcoin, can't you hedge your trades with options, or is that not worth it because you need to pay for delta time? So that's actually a part of my strategy. So options can be really powerful when you don't know the volatility tolerance of the move. Meaning, let's say I think we're at an all-time high. I'm not going to open up a short on Bitcoin because the volatility is so extreme. So I would rather pay a premium and have, let's say, a 6-month contract. I like to buy long options. That's just how I work. I'd buy a 6-month contract of a put, and basically that just stabilizes the price and it gives me time. That's all I'm paying for. I'm paying for time to relax, time to chill, time to watch the price, and maybe give me time to actually transition into a perpetual short. So that's the value of the put option. You don't have that volatility where you're going to get stopped out of the position. You just know, hey, I think Bitcoin's going to be lower than this price 6 months from now, and that's what you're paying for. So yes, it's going to be a part of my strategy, and it's a way to kind of hedge out some of the position. I'll be selling too. I'll be harvesting on the way up, and then whatever I have that I'm not quite sure of, I'll probably hedge that with a put. Give myself time to think. That's basically where all the money is going to, is just that mental clarity and that time. It'll be expensive, but it's worth it. How much money did I start for my? Just buy small amounts. Don't worry about how much you need. You don't need that much. It's just about becoming familiar with the tech and integrating it into your life so that you have options. Learn about the technology. Don't worry about how much you need, because realistically you don't know how much you need. You don't know what it's even for. Just learn about the tech. Learn about the tech, and if you can afford to take like 5% a month of your earnings, put it into Bitcoin, and that's a very effective strategy for you to transition into a possibility where Bitcoin is a global reserve currency. I'll risk the beating on alts for the gains. BTC buying comes during the bear market. Yeah, there's absolutely something that could be said to that, especially if you're holding spot holdings. If you believe we're in a bull market and you're buying spot assets, that's your trading plan, and don't let anybody ever take that away from you. If you're holding contracts, if you're holding futures contracts where there's a risk of liquidation, well, now you have an exchange that has the ability to steal your shit. So with that strategy, although it's not perfect, and although it comes with risk, and one of the possible outcomes is you end up being a bag holder, it's not a terrible strategy. It's actually the strategy that most newcomers come into this space in, and they do quite well. And that's how they get addicted. That's how they, fall in love with this market, is because that strategy is the one that they use. They buy alts in spot markets and hold them. It's a good strategy in the right environment. I'm still waiting to get confirmation on the environment, but if the environment is correct, it's absolutely a winning strategy. So don't let anybody, overcomplicate or just cloud that judgment, because it's one that works. Just don't flip around too much, Pick some and stick it. Just don't flip around too much. You buy a put to get a perpetual short. Need to look that up. Yeah, just like a 1x, just to hedge out, right? And honestly, it's by far and away the best exchange. But one of the features is they have spot margin. So let's say you're done with trading, you know, we're preparing for the bear market. You have a put option. The put is in another area of FTX, and you're just like, well, you know, I want to short Bitcoin, and I don't hold any Bitcoin in my wallet. What you can do is you can just overdraft your Bitcoin. So your wallet will show, you know, -1 BTC or negative whatever the number is, I don't know. But it'll show that you owe Bitcoin. So then you wait for the bear market bottom, and then you pay it back. So if you owe Bitcoin at 100K, and then we go down to a bear market of 30K, you pay it back, but you pay back 30K and you keep the 70K. All while you're waiting for clarity from the put option. So, you know, we can get creative here. We can do some fun stuff, especially with FTX. I love that exchange. Does your trading group run all year round? Yes, it does. Yes, trading group is a 24/7 group. It's not just me in there. We've got a whole panel of really good analysts. My trading style is a lot slower. So, you know, if you come in expecting daily updates on trade setups, there are plenty of other channels where you can do that. I try to go for high probability setups, and those happen infrequently. So, you know, great salesman I am. But there's a lot of material that can help you learn the Wyckoff method, learn about order structure. We're going to be releasing more content on hedging and stuff that we've been talking about just now, as well as just some of the basics. So if you are new to crypto, if you're new to trading and you do want to learn, we can get you up and running on the basics and some of the more emotional theory and mindset that's required to be a successful portfolio manager. That's more the angle that we're going for is no, like, we're not going to teach you how to be a day trader, because statistically speaking, day traders lose money. We're going to teach you how to manage a portfolio from a macro perspective so that you can become an educated investor that can make big gains over big periods of time. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, links below. And if you want to try it for a free month and you sign up with FTX, you get a free month. So follow the links, cryptojungle.com. We'll get you signed up in the group today. China bans China. Oh my God. This just in. China bans China. It's coming, man. China, you're not allowed. We're getting rid of you. I don't know if you have an FTX account, but you can sign up for FTX at any point. And then when you want to claim your free month, you just DM me in Discord. Give me the UID so that I can see you signed up under my link, then you get a free month. You can use that whenever you want. Okay, I gotta wrap things up in here, ladies and gentlemen. One more coin request, so go ahead, drop it. I'm gonna pick it random. It's gonna be completely biased on what I like to look at. So go ahead and drop your tickers. I'm gonna look at one more, although keep in mind, I'm probably not gonna say to buy it because we're waiting for, you know, Bitcoin right now. But yeah, we'll take a look at one more. Still holding support on Bitcoin. We really need to hold this level. If we start breaking below, especially if we break below this level, it's not going to look good. Axie. Best thing is this news came out 10 days ago. What a coincidence it pops up on futures expiry day though, right? I know. The price pushes news. News does not push price. VRA, Radium. You know what? I am going to pick SLP. Not just because I'm an Axie fanboy, but because they just announced some changes. And those changes are significant. So for those who are not following along with the Axie Infinity ecosystem, I'm going to, you know, this downtrend was very, very strong. Down, 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 down. We were gonna continue down. I said we're gonna probably continue down until the team steps in with some sort of adjustment to the economy. as of yesterday, they have implemented one of those adjustments to the tokenomics economy. They have decreased the fee to breed with the AXS token. That's going to incentivize breeding. It's good. It's a good thing. And they have also increased the breeding fees for the Axies themselves. It was way out of whack. We were minting way more than we were burning. So what this is going to attempt to do is just try and bring that back to an equilibrium. If we can bring that back to an equilibrium, there is at least a chance that we stabilize. If we stabilize, we can accumulate. If we accumulate, we can mark up. So I think, you know, it's a good fundamental move here, but we still need to break past some of these highs. So the last high we had in SLP was at 10 cents. We got to get above 10 cents. As long as we're below 10 cents, we're going to remain below 10 cents. So we might just trade sideways for a while. We might get between, 10 and 14 cents and go through an accumulation. But I think that as the data comes in and as we see that ratio of the mint versus the burn, if we see it begin to close that gap, that's going to be a really fundamentally strong reason as to why this is, potentially got some legs. Now, where's the trade? You could trade SLP, but I find it risky to trade SLP. I think that the trade is actually going to be in buying the Axies themselves, buying the NFTs, going to the marketplace and scooping up some of those NFTs to sell those NFTs for a higher price. That's where I think the true trade is. But yeah, it's interesting tokenomics that are coming to the forefront. So sorry to everybody else's ticker that I ignored. I am an Axie fanboy, so went with that. That is all the time I have for today. If you enjoyed this content, please leave it a like. If you would like to share this content with anybody that you think would find value out of it, go ahead and do so. And until next time, please trade safe. It is a jungle out there. Peace.